Okay, good evening everyone. This is chapter 2. I hope that you're all doing very, very well. This is the second chapter that we're going to have all together, and I hope that you enjoyed the first chapter. I do believe everybody has already the basically all of the slides as I already sent to you. And please, you can write it over there in chat, and then let me know whether you received it or not. I send it all to your email. Considering that fact, I will discuss almost at the end of the session about the assignment that you have to do in for this semester in group work. Okay, and so that will be another issue that we will discuss. But I will make sure that everybody is in the class, or we have the maximum number possible in the class. Then basically our explanation is not going to be repeated again and again. As I told you, we will have the group of 4 or 5 because you have almost less than 30 students in this class. So we make sure that we will have around 5 to 6 groups, and the assignment has to be done in group form. I will tell you what you have to do at the end of the session, and that's all about it. So let's start chapter 2, the nature of managerial work, which is your chapter 2, and I hope that everybody can hear my voice clearly. Please, again, if you cannot hear my voice clearly, write it down in chat box, then I can accommodate that issue. Anyway, the chapter 2 is the nature of managerial work. Let's go and see what are the learning objectives. As usual, at the beginning of each session, we will have learning objectives discussed. Today, the learning objectives for this managerial issues are: what methods have been used to study managerial work. These are understanding those. We will discuss that. Understanding the typical activity pattern of 4 people in managerial positions. Understanding the different roles required for managers and how they are changing. You see, the change of different management and managers during different circumstances will be discussed, as well as how managerial roles and activities are affected by aspects of situation, like crisis management will be perfectly discussed here. We will tell you how no matter what managerial role you have to change when it comes to new circumstances and so on. And understanding how managers cope with demands, constraints, and choices confronting them. Besides the imitation of descriptive research on managerial activities and how managers can make effective use of their time. So these are the other managerial basically objectives that we have, learning objectives in this thing, that they're all related to the managers and managerial tasks that they're going to have in different circumstances. Anyway, typical activity patterns in managerial work, as you can see here. These are the subcomponents under these typical activity patterns in managerial work that we are going to discuss. Look at here, pace of work is hectic and unrelenting. Okay, this is the first thing. Content of work is varied and fragmented. Like how fast your job is, the beginning one, and then the next one, the complication of the job, or how sophisticated your job is and how it's varied from time to time based on different situations happening. Many activities are reactive, means whatever you do, you're going to get a responsive, or they're going to be in response to something which was done before, and interactions often involve peers and outsiders. In managerial job, not only you are dealing with your own basically managerial level or colleagues or peers, you may have outsiders dealing with you. You can look at this diagram on the lower here. You can see manager in the center has lateral subordinate supporters as well as superiors, as well as peers and lateral juniors. Okay. On the other side, we have officials in government and agencies, plus clients, suppliers, colleagues in the same profession, and important people in the community that you are dealing with. Under this manager, we have two typical subordinates, which is direct subordinate and indirect subordinate, as well as on top of them, we have boss and higher executives in the organization. So this is a typical relationship that a manager can have in each organization, whether it's vertical, as you can see from top to bottom, or horizontal among peers, whether it's organizational peers or outsiders. So let's talk about basically the I think again, as usual, I just please, when you come in, make sure that you are on mute, then your entrance is not affecting the rest in terms of listening and so on. Okay, I was telling you typical activities pattern in managerial work and so on. We have many interactions involve oral communication. A good manager, has to have this ability of communicating with people every day in a very nice, interactive way. Oral communication is going to play a huge role. So manager has to have these two together to be able to do the job that he or she is supposed to do in the best possible manner. Another important factor for any managerial job is decision processes, that they're going to happen sometimes disorderly and political. Means you are not predictable decisions, which means it's not something like inventory control model or anything like that, that you know what's going to happen next. What is happening is in different situations, as I told you before as well, different circumstances make you to decide differently, and these different responses vary in different places, different conditions, and so on. This is what we call disorder type of decision making. On the other side, no matter how much predictable your job is and how much you're following standards and regulations, still political issues are significantly important. Besides these two important things that we just discussed, the next one is most planning is informal and adaptive. What does it mean? It means in managerial level, your plans cannot be created like the way that in operational level we have planning. Like for example, for manufacturing line, we're going to produce this much per day, and this is what is the capacity. This is utilization rate, and this is how we're going to, for example, hit our capacity. So based on our learning curve of organization, how our employees are working, after starting any product type or product line, we're going to get used to that, and then we're going to reduce the time for each product to be produced in under, for example, over a period of a time, and this is how it's going to work. Definitely, in managerial level, things are more variable, volatile, and less predicted. Means you really have to be able to get all of these decisions and planning done without even expecting them to happen. So, if you have any questions so far, you can ask me by raising your hand or writing anything in chat box. If not, I will proceed to the next level. Is there any question? Okay. So I will continue with the content of managerial work. What are the basic contents of managerial work? The first thing is job description research. What is job description research? The first thing is supervising. Supervising is basically one of the most important contents of managers in terms of supervising the subordinates, even collaborating with peers in different levels, in different managerial levels that more or less doing the same thing. The other thing is planning, as you can see here, planning and organization. What is important here is plus planning, that you can see here. We have another important factor, which is decision making. Decision making is one of the most important tasks or functions that each manager has to do every day. The next level is monitoring indicators. Indicators means what? Those influencing factors that can change the flow of managers in any possible way. We have controlling and other functions of management. It's one of the most common functions of management after planning, after decision making, after organizing. Another important factor is definitely controlling, as you can see here. I'm using this pen and apparently it doesn't really seem effective, so I attempt to clean what I've done, because I do believe flash it will be much better. So okay, we have I try to use other possible choices that we have here to be able to make it possible. You see, besides the monitoring indicators, we are controlling, representing, which is different, in different area of work. Sometimes you are representing the higher management for lower one, or lower one to higher management. Sometimes your subordinates are expecting you to bring their voice to ears of top managers. On the other side, there are some messages from top managerial level to lower level, and you have to do it as a manager. So this is part of your work. Coordination is another thing that you have to do, and we have consulting, and we have administrating. We have, I can see here, there is some Mr. Sahibzadeh asked for what is the difference between monitoring and control. Okay, in monitoring, you basically, there are definitely overlaps. There is no difference, there is no doubt that there is a overlap. When you monitor, you basically see what people are doing, but the monitoring is more on checking whether people are doing things. So on. When you control, not only you check, you're giving feedbacks as well. Feedback is which is more gonna be into basically practical aspects of that. So I hope you understand the difference between these two. Another gentleman, Mr. Nuristani, is asking administering and controlling. Administering and controlling are two absolutely different things. When you're doing administrative job, which is part of paperwork of any type of position that you may have from lower level to top level, you're more into administrative point of view. While you're controlling, as I told you, not only you are monitoring, you are giving feedback as well. On the other side, monitoring indicators. We see in each job and each level of managerial level, we have basically specific indicators that they can change the flow. Like, for example, the complexity of task by itself, the size of the organization, the number of employees that they are working for you. Anything that you know, it's going to be an influencing factor in your job. Definitely in an organization like manufacturing company, indicator factors are going to be different from a, for example, creative entrepreneur type of company like Google. Everybody is paying attention to creativity and innovation rather than the efficiency and effectiveness of workers to be able to not waste anything and have a lean approach. So I do believe by explaining these two, I already gave you enough answer. If still there is any doubt or question, please ask me. I will definitely try. Mr. Vali Nuristani is asking, indicators are the measures, right? Indicators, they are all of those influencing factors that can change the flow of your work. Measurements or any measures that they are part of your work can be there as well. For example, job satisfaction of employees that can cause them to have a better work and cause finally the customer to be satisfied can be one of those measures, definitely, because it's one of those indicator factors that, or indicating factors that can change the flow of the whole work. If you take care of your job satisfaction, your employee job satisfaction, they will definitely make sure that they have a good job because they're happy about what they're doing. They're happier, so they do the better job. In results, you will have better customer, happier about your product because they're happy about the product that they receive or the service that they receive, and it means repeat of the business, and then that is prosperity of the business that you're doing. So definitely indicators factors or indicators can be all of those measures as well. So any other questions, please let me know. If not, we will proceed to the next one. Is there any question? Okay, you can ask your question in two possible ways. Whether you raise your hand, then I give you a chance to talk, or I can simply see your message in chat box, and then whether I respond to you by writing or give you just read your question and then try answer. Okay, we see Mr. Sahibzadeh is asking, could you please, sir, describe again representing? Okay, I told you, representing can be upside and downside. Upside means when you are representing the top management, senior executives, to lower one, when they have any decisions, any specific message that has to be transferred. For example, let's imagine we are in, after 2008, recession. There are lots of companies in the world and even governments in the world that they are still struggling with the recession happened. So one of the basic results of recession is downsizing an organization because you don't have proper business. So one of the basic way of saving your company is reducing costs. One of the most common ways of reducing costs in recession is downsizing, and downsizing means you have to get rid of some of your employees, means laying off them. This decision is one of those superior decisions made by board of directors or CEOs. This message has to be presented to the lower level. Usually the CEOs, they don't come and target the employees by themselves. They don't talk to them directly, face to face. They usually assign some managers that usually work in between to bring their message to lower level. This is one of the ways that you can do representing. On the other side, you have some employees' message or voice to be transferred to the higher level. Those informations and those messages can be represented by middle range management or any type of management working with them to higher level as well. So you can see representing can be both sides. Even you can represent your organization outside as well to your other stakeholders. Stakeholders like government, competitors, legislators, people, public views, or anything like that. When, for example, you go for public relation media discussion, or for example, media conference, and try to describe a certain incident happening in your organization or certain thing happen about your organization. Okay, so representing is one of the basic functions or managerial work that each manager has to do. Any question about that? Mr. Saibzad, I hope that my explanation was sound and clear. So please confirm on that. I can proceed to the next level. Yes, you can see here one of the most famous basically theories about managerial roles, that this certain theory is related to Mintzberg. As you can see, Mintzberg managerial roles is one of the most common managerial roles theories. You can see Mintzberg divided managerial roles to three different main categories: information processing roles, decision-making roles, as well as interpersonal roles. Okay, when it comes to information processing roles, the first area is liaison. What is liaison or liaison? Liaison is when you are actually the connector or kind of representative between organization and outside organization with other stakeholders, or the one that I just explained for you in terms of representation. Monitoring as well, that you just explained, when you're monitoring, and a spokesperson. When you basically, you are the front line of the organization, try to represent organization to outside and so on. The other one is decision-making roles, which is another important factor of in managerial role. It's about, it has four subcomponents by itself, as you can see here. The first subcomponent is entrepreneur. Okay. The next one is disturbance handler. If there is any disturbance happening, any, for example, incident that organization is affected by, you have to be able to find a way to moderate that fact and try to solve it while giving proper solutions practically and theoretically. Resource allocator, under decision making, one of the most important factors of managerial rules is finding out what is the right way of allocating different resources that the manager has. So manager, by doing this resource allocation in the right possible way, basically he makes sure the organization is getting the best benefit of what he has. For example, if you're again in a company that you're producing something or providing any type of services, one of the most important factors is finding out how you can get the best out of your employees, as well as the best out of your capital, as well as the best out of your equipment. So that, which is the utilization rate that I just talked about, that can be all done perfectly by taking this to the consideration: resource allocation in right productive way. Productive means efficient as well as effective. The last one is negotiation, or being a good negotiator. Under decision-making roles, Mintzberg believes negotiation is another important key factor under decision-making roles. Let's go to the lower level, which is not necessarily lower level in terms of the importance of this. I just call lower level because in this table, it's repeated here. As a matter of fact, all of these roles for managers are essential, and none of them is above the other one. They may be prioritized differently in different circumstances, but it doesn't mean that we can, for example, say information processing rules, for example, is more important than decision making. Let's talk about interpersonal rules. As I told you, liaison here is about employees. It is not about outside. It's not about organizational liaison with the outside, for example, government or anything. It's about interpersonal relationship that employees have, subordinate boss, boss subordinate, higher level, lower level. If you remember, in last two slides we were discussing that table, all of those relationships. Figurehead, when organization needs to have basically different managerial level as figures in different parts to just act like figures. They don't necessarily, this is one of the functions, acting like as just having that position filled. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And being leader. Leader, as you can see here, is one of the functions of management. You remember when we were discussing the difference between management and leadership, we were telling you, I was basically telling you what is the difference between the leadership and management. And here you can see the basic difference. So if any questions, please ask me now. I would be happy to answer. Okay, figurehead against it. Okay, figurehead, you see, sometimes when they want to say a negative, for example, comment on somebody, they just say, that person is not really a decision maker. He's just a figurehead. But we use this in this negative example, but it doesn't mean figurehead is an absolute negative term. No. One of the functions of management is just acting like he has that position and he is representing. It's kind of showing that representation as well, as we discussed before. Like, okay, who's in charge here? That person. Okay, if he's making good decisions or doing other stuff under the managerial rule, perfect. If not, still at least he is somebody in charge of this part. So figurehead is one of the basic things that a managerial role has to have, which shows that position is filled with that person. So it means that person is representing or showing or basically conveying this message that this area has a manager, and that is that figurehead. I hope that I could basically give you a very good explanation about what you are asking for. Did you understand that? Please confirm on that. Another way of saying that is this, Mr. I think, yeah, the person who asked this question. Another thing is, usually in figurehead position, you are keeping a very important power. For example, look at Russia. Vladimir Putin now is the president of Russia, but used to be the prime minister. Why? Because he was in charge already for 2 terms, which is 10 years in Russia, if I don't make a mistake. Whether it's 4 or 5 years, and I think in Russia it's 5 years. Means 10 years he was in power. Then he couldn't, based on the basic rules and regulation of or basic constitution of Russia, a president can maximum go for 2 terms. So he couldn't be president anymore. So he chose another gentleman named who was his name was Davidov, if I don't make a mistake, as the president, and he kept himself as prime minister. The president that time was not actually a powerful person. He was just a figurehead who was in charge of the most important position, managerial and executive part of the community and country, while Vladimir Putin as prime minister was in the main power. So we had that gentleman just over there to fill up that gap for Putin, by the way, that Putin was in charge of the whole thing. Okay? Yes, Medvedov. Thank you so much, Mr. Harun Sahab. The name was Medvedov. Yes, exactly. This Mr. Medvedov was just a figurehead that Vladimir Putin just put there as puppet. Whenever he wanted to add, he could use it. Okay, I hope that you got the whole message. Yes, he was a figurehead, while the main power was coming from Vladimir Putin while he was the prime minister. By right, prime minister is not really as powerful as the president, but because Vladimir Putin wanted him to be the president, he became president. And you can see after 1 term, he's not in charge anymore. We have Vladimir Putin now in charge again. So now you can see the difference. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Arif. Okay, let's go later further and see what is happening. Role conflicts. Let's talk about the conflicts that may happen. This role conflict by itself has this subcomponent under that as well. Role standards, role expectations, conflicting demands, and perceptions of role requirements. If you want to be more in detail about this, you have to a little bit go further in this unique role requirements by Stewart 1967 and 1976 and 1982. This is how he actually upgraded his theory from basic theory to a much better theory. First of all, demands. What is demand? These require duties, activities, and responsibilities that has to be done by each manager. Constraints are limiting characteristics of organization and external environment. That is, as you can see, constraints are going to be imposed to managers and company. And choices, activities that a manager may do, but it's not required. Okay? Using these factors, you can understand role conflict more. Role standards, role expectation, conflicting demands, and perception of role requirements. What are the requirements that you need for any role to be done? What are the demands that may happen and they are conflicting? For example, what top management wants you to do while the lower definitely subordinates are expecting you to do, thinking about them, is that these 2 roles are conflicting. Sometimes managers have to be able to come up with a place and a certain approach that can balance it, and both are going to be happy. Role expectation, what they are expecting from your role to be done, and role standard means how you're basically make sure that everybody understands what exactly your role is all about. We explained this as well. Let's go to talk about unique role requirements, situational determinants, pattern of relationship, work pattern, and exposure. Based on, okay, somebody said Mr. Nuristani is asking about last slide. Which slide? You mean this one? Demands, constraints, and choices? Okay, what question about that? Okay, what question about that, Mr. Nuristani? Oh, you want me to explain again? Okay. Stewart is one of those basically researchers that work on this unique role requirements of managers, and he divides these unique role requirements to three different categories. He said whether you have demands, whether you have constraints, and whether you have choices to make. Demands are required duties that you have to do as manager. Basic activities that every day you have, responsibilities that you have, that they're all coming from the authority that you're given as manager. The other subcomponent was constraints. These constraints are going to be those imposing limitations or environment or organization by itself. Means, for example, about decision making, you have to pay attention to this issue. For example, you cannot decide to expand your plantation, okay, for example, to inside the city. The reason is it is against the social or environmental factor. You see, as you can see, for each business, there are three main bottom lines. One is social issues, taking care of people and so on. One is environmental factor, that taking care of environment and basically the economic factor. And the last one is the prosperity, which is the most important one. But the last but not the least. So as managers, you have to be able to cope with those constraints as well. For example, social issues. You're in a country which has a certain cultural issues. For example, they have some cultural barriers, or they have some, for example, taboos, or they have some basically approaches like religion. Over there is playing a huge role. So you have to be able to cope with that limitation coming from external environment. For example, if you are working in a marketing, for example, company, and you are the manager, and you want to initiate a new campaign which is related to advertising. So this new advertising campaign has to be based on the cultural issues in that certain country. Let's imagine, definitely the limitation that you have in terms of using different visual or sound effects in the United States definitely is different from a country like, for example, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of the most conservative Muslim countries in the world. So you know, in that country, you cannot show, for example, ladies with a little bit nudity or less clothes on and so on. That will cause problems. That has sensitive issue. So you are constrained to have another path for your campaign to be initiated, while in US you don't have that. On the other side, for example, in Saudi Arabia, there are other stuff that maybe can be done easier, while in US you have rules and regulation about that. So I hope that I could convey this message about constraints. And the last thing is choices. Choices is all about those decisions and alternatives that you have every single day when you're making your basically decision-making activities that a manager may do, but is not required to do. For example, we have now one of the choices. For example, there is an outsourcing company outside saying that, coming to us and say, for example, we can outsource your after-sales services if you want, but we will charge you this much. So managers think, okay, we have now after-sales services department, and we are now spending money on salary of the employees as well as the place, location, rental, and so on. And this outsource company is saying that we are professional in that, and they can make it much cheaper for us and more professional for us. So this is one of the decisions the manager is not necessary to make, but if he makes, maybe he can create a better productivity chance or profitability chance for organization, which is one of the choices that he could make. If he didn't do, nobody would question him because it is not required. It's not part of his activities, duties, or responsibilities to choose one of these outsourcing companies. But he chose to do such a thing. You understand? I hope that my explanation was perfectly fine. Okay, Mr. Nuristani? Okay, double yes from him. Okay, perfect. I just explained this for you. Unique role requirements, situational determinants, pattern of relationship. It can be any of the relationships that managers have from top to bottom among employees, colleagues, subordinates, bosses, and so on. Work pattern means work nature by itself. You are in an organization with lots of volatility or volatile environment, or you are in an organization with a very, very stable environment. So definitely two different things. And exposure, how much basically you are into making your work basically being seen by everybody that they are part of the organization and so on. Exposure usually comes from in a managerial point of view of exposure is usually going back to the term that people try to show the basic because you see the practice of revealing the secrets of magic or basically the information that may not be confidential. So if you have that possibility of sharing everything with everybody, that exposure is perfectly fine. But sometimes you don't have really that, and you have to be very protective. For example, if you're working in an organization that is under certain law and legislation governmental, sometimes you have to make sure that the display of unclosed parts of the, for example, for important issues that related to any case, criminal case, and so on is going to be taken care of because of, for example, the right that any of those have, as well as, for example, just imagine you are in, for example, you are in charge of marketing, the proposition of money invested in this, the industry that you are working in. For example, the sector that you work in, something which you cannot really explain how much you've done it, how you've done it, and so on. Those have to be confidential. So it's all about that, how much you can share, how much you cannot. Okay? Research on situational determinants. I think up to now we already proceed to a good number of slides. I don't mind now asking your opinion so far. What did you understand from so things? So is there anybody who is volunteer to now basically explain his understanding so far? You have some new names here that last week I didn't have them in the class, like Mr. Riyaz, Yullah, and Mr. Javid, okay, as well as Mr. Samir. Please forgive me and please accept my apology if I don't pronounce your names properly. It is just because of not being familiar with the pattern. But okay, so please be volunteer. Otherwise, I have to just randomly choose different students to participate. And Mr. Javid said, it's fine, sir, but I want more than that. It's more than just it's fine, sir. Like something like, basically, what did you understand so far? What did you get so far? Mr. Samir, anything that you understood? I may give you this chance by giving you the chance of talking. Mr. Samir, can you tell me what did you understand from the whole thing so far? Mr. Samir? Yeah, apparently Mr. Samir is not really into talking. He's trying to. Okay, I will go to Mr. Riyaz. Mr. Riyaz? Oh, okay, Mr. Samir, you don't have a go. Okay, understandable. No problem. How about Mr. Riyaz? Do you have microphone, Mr. Riyaz? Mr. Riyaz? Okay, I can see Mr. Riyaz also not. Let's go to Mr. Nuristani, our usual active student in the class. Sir Nuristani, what do you think?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Nuristani.
How are you, sir? Yes, do you hear me?
Good. How are you?
Fine,
Yes,
thanks,
perfectly,
sir.
I can hear you.
Sir, what do you want to know, sir?
I want to know what did you understand so far from the class. I just want you to share from what was your understanding.
Today we have learned the contents of a manager, like what's the responsibility of a manager, and what he or she has to do in his workplace. Like a manager must do should act like a liaison between his department and outside world, and he has to be responsible responsible for his decision making. He has to plan, monitor, control, and as well as he has to act like a figurehead. These were the points that we have already discussed up to now, sir. That we have learned.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you so much. It was a very good, comprehensive explanation. Thank you so much. As I told you, I don't want to be the only solo talker. That's why I want everybody to discuss. Thank you so much, Mr. Rustami. We have Mr. Muhammad Harun Sahib. Yeah, please, Mr. Harun.
Yes. Do you hear me, sir?
Yes, perfectly. How are you, Mr. Harun Sahib?
Fine, thanks. I'm sorry for joining late the class today, and I continued with you from slide 6 that my colleague, my classmate, just Mr. Nurutani explained, but I would like to explain the management managerial roles. What I understood that the roles of managers on 3 aspects of the his office, how he has a management role on the process of information, how he could liaise with outsiders, how he could monitor the information exchange, and how he could act as a spokesperson on behalf of the organization or his office or portfolio. And also on the decision making, how he plays the role of the resource allocation, and also how we could play the roles of a good, successful negotiator on behalf of his organization. Also for the interpersonal scale, his liaison internally is very important, how we could liaise between the staff, regardless of junior or senior, how we could, as a middle, could linkage the relations of the staff, and how also he could be a good leader besides being a manager. Now it could affect and influence the performance of his staff. So that is my understanding so far. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. It was perfect. Again, it was nice to hear another gentleman participating. Thank you so much, Mr. Muhammad Harun. If there is anybody else who is interested to discuss, we would be happy and delighted to hear the voice. So just Mr. Muhammad Harun, if you raise your hand and I can see the hand over there, I can simply give the chance to you to talk. I would really be happy to have everybody talk. Mr. Ahmadi, as Mr. Samir and Javid, they said that they don't have microphone. Make sure that next time we come, you can do it. It will be much better. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Sahib Zadeh is going to talk. So, Mr. Sahib Zadeh, hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Yes.
Yes. Good evening, sir. First of all, I would like to extend my warmest greetings to you and to my classmates. Actually, today, sir, we have chapter 2, and I have learned about the nature of managerial work, and also you explained 10 slides up to now, and specifically I was very interested about the content of the managerial work, like job description, research, supervising, planning and organizing, decision making, monitoring indicators, controlling, and all the contents, and also about the rule of conflict. We also have learned today about the rule of the sender, rule of the expectations, and conflicting demands. And
okay, perfect.
Yes, perfect. And also about the unique situational determinants, level of management, size of organization unit. This is next slide.
Okay, very good.
That's it. Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Thank you. As usual, you're one of the active ones, like the rest. Thank you. Okay, so thank you. I will continue explaining the slide. As you can see, research on situational determinants. We have level of managerial level of management plus size of organizational unit, lateral interdependence or interrelationship that you have with each organizational level, and crisis situation, as well as a stage in organizational life cycle. If you want to explain one by one, I will give you some of them. For example, level of managerial level. The situational determinants on any basically managerial level organization, if you are an operational level, you're definitely different from a middle range manager, while you're going to be different from the top management as well. So you see, managerial level by itself has different. It can be one of the situational determinants on the whole thing. Besides that, size of organization. If you are talking about an MNEs, multinational enterprises, or MNCs, multinational companies, or the big companies that they have more than certain number of employees, you definitely have different situation rather than SMEs, that they are small and medium enterprises. But definitely the type of management, organizational task, and everything is going to be different. Lateral interdependence will be all of those relationships that you have in each level, possible with your co-colleagues or co are more predictable, and so on. So again, crisis situation and the number of crises that you may have in, for example, a certain period of time can be another determinant. We have stages in organizational life cycle as well. You see, we have organizations that they are newborn. These organizations definitely are different from organizations that they are already in growth level or maturity level or even in decline level. So as well as we can create a product life cycle, or we can define a product life cycle for each product that we have. We can have organizational life cycle as well, which is all about the life cycle that each organization will have during its existence. Some organizations, after being born, which is introduction level, and growth, they're gonna be for a long time in maturity level and not easily going to decline. Some organizations, because they don't pay attention to basics of environmental factors, that they're changing all the time, and dynamic situation, they may end up going to decline and being out of the market. So it depends which stage of organizational life cycle you are. Yeah, it is super similar to product life cycle. The life cycle, but different theories are explaining that differently. Some theories, they just define 3 different layers. Some theories, they say the same 4 levels that we have for product or service life cycle. So it depends. And Mr. Mohammed Harun is saying that he lost the voice. Can you hear me now, Mr. Harun? Mr. Harun, can you hear me? Please write over there. Okay, lateral, I will explain. Lateral, not lateral. Okay, lateral, I will explain. Okay, Mr. Okay. Mr. Ahmadi is asking, can I explain lateral independence? Lateral is when you are depending on different levels, which it can be the same level of manager that you are. Like, for example, I was talking about CFO, CEO, CMO, and other, for example, managerial positions, that you are more or less in the same level. Sometimes as a CMO, you have a certain relationship and dependency on CEO or CFO. and that is because, for example, the number of tasks that has to be done in your different divisions that you have. We call that lateral interdependence, which means you have these lateral relationships and interdependence among your different divisions because your job kind of is dealing with that specific task to be done. Okay, understandable, Mr. Ahmadi? I don't know why some students they say they couldn't. I was talking about level of management, for example, operational level as well as middle range. Some people they said they couldn't hear me. Okay, some they say yes. Okay, I already explained all of these different determinants in situational. I mean under the situational determinants, and I was explaining, giving you different examples as well as. All of these examples were related to different level of life cycle as well as crisis, interdependence, organizational unit, and level of management. Okay, the gentleman, Muhammad Harun Saad, is asking program management to operation management. What is this operation management? Can you ask? Do size of organizational unit have a direct relation with level of management? Level of management and size of organizational unit, they are two different factors. If they have relationship, okay, let's talk about that. For example, you can be in operational level and have a certain number of employees under you. If you are, for example, in operational level and you're working a factory, you may have thousands of employees under you, while you are in a smaller organization, which is not a factory, and you're just in charge of some technicians. Maybe your subordinates are much low and they are not 1,000, they maybe be just 50, 20, 30. And yes, here you have the same managerial level, which is operational level, but different type of employee numbers, okay? And definitely that affects your how you're doing your operational level job. So I hope that I gave you some explanation about what this level of management and size of organization is all about. They don't necessarily necessarily affecting each other, but on the other side, they have relationship. Yeah, we can find relationship in between. Okay. Then what is level of management? Level of management is a totally different level of managerial level that you have in organization. You have operational level as well as three most common managerial levels are operational level, middle range management or middle rank management, and we have the top management or CEOs. Yes, yes. That's an answer. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, I will proceed. Gentlemen, so I have to explain today about your assignment as well. So just let me to finish the slide now. Then you have time enough to explain what you have to do for your assignment. I do believe that more number of students shown up today. They have shown up today that it shows better rank. Oh, Mr. Sahibzadeh, are you going to ask any question? Because still I can see there is a raising hand sign over there. Mr. Sahibzadeh, do you have any question? Okay, so I would, yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it for removing that. Okay, changes in the nature of managerial works. There are different factors that affecting the nature of job to be changed. The reason is these factors are the most influential factors. You can see economics, politics, and society. These three are all coming from external environment. External environment is the environment which is outside of organization, beyond the organizational boundaries, and those factors are affecting organization no matter what. And you have to cope and be able to accommodate those changes instructed by this external environment. So economic factor is one of those issues. For example, 2008 economical crisis has a significant impact on most of the companies in the world. The more your relationship was with the a big economy like US, the higher the chance that you were affected by that. For example, specific crisis, as well as political issues. Let's talk about political issues. In a country like Venezuela, Hugo Chavez was the old previous president. He was in charge, and he's been, some people in country, they were fan of him, they were following him, and he had a huge number of opposition as well. After his death, his party still could survive. And this is one of the political factors. So all of the companies in this country have to know that one of the important factors is being able to cope with the current right lobby handling the country. Society or social issues is another factor. Let's talk about a country, for example, like Malaysia. Malaysia is a very, very young society with more than 70% of society less than 30 years old. It means this society is very young, and then definitely society pattern, the way that you doing things, providing services, producing product is going to be different from a country which is old. For example, Italy is one of those old nations in the world. The number of the birth rate is less than the number of people that are going to die day per day. So because birth rate is less than basically death rate, you will end up having a country with majority old people. So definitely that is one of the social factors. You have to be able to cope with that. Globalization on the other side is another important factor that you can see here. Globalization is the second important factor that can affect the nature of our managerial job. You see, the whole world is going to be as much as possible toward international business and getting rid of all of the boundaries, getting rid of all of the tariffs, quotas, taxes, and obstacles toward barrier, export, import, and so on. WTO is one of those organizations that try to make sure this is happening. Globalization is one of the trends that definitely change the nature of managerial job. As far as companies they are going toward more being international, operating in different occasions. As I told you before, there are lots of MBAs in the world that they are operating not in just one country, but in so many different occasions and places. We have new computer and telecommunication technology, internet, the emergence of internet, and the basic revolution that happened after internet as a new media definitely affected the whole managerial task. There are lots of things that can be done through internet now. As a matter of fact, this class that we are doing now, we are holding now, and we try to handle it is the nature, is actually the result of this nature that we are discussing, the revolution in telecommunication and computer and internet industry. The structure of organizations nowadays is going toward being more flattened rather than more hierarchical and vertical. The old traditional approach to organization was being as much as possible hierarchical and vertical, while nowadays the modern economies, modern companies, they try to get rid of lots of layers that they have in terms of managers, and being sure that just there are teams and groups working under one supervision, or maximum two supervision, not lots of layers. But the higher the levels are, and the higher the tiers are, the more difficult the communication is going to be, the more time consuming any decision making is going to be, and so on. Outsourcing. Today it happened by coincidence. I gave you so many examples about outsourcing, like that company that I told you that can do its after-sales services outsource, and just-in-time inventories, which is one of the outcomes of lean production or pure agile production of countries like Japan. So it's about changes in nature of workforce. If you have any questions, please ask. If not, we will have this basic figures here. Okay, we have here Mr. Jahadullah. Mr. Jahadullah is asking, how do economics affect management works? With example, I just told you, when recession 2008 happened, you are working in a company, just an example, that is producing cars. When recession hits, means the ability of people to spend money on products and services is decreasing. Means the demand most probably for your product is going to decrease as well. You're producing cars, so demand for that is lower. So you used to have higher production rates and more important, and then you have to organize organization and do your managerial job in a way to cope with that demand, higher basically things. But it happened to be now lower, so you have to be able to come up to a balance that not only you get the best out of your capacity available, you make sure that you are not diseconomizing your scale. You see, economy of scale is when you're making sure that you produce a lot, that the cost per unit is going to decrease. When you do this more than enough, you're diseconomy of scale. That can be as a result of not affecting, not basically instilling the fact that economic crisis happen and you have to decrease your amount of production and you still keep up with producing as much as you were producing. What will happen? At the end of the day, you cannot sell them. You have to rent places to keep them in their house and other consequences that is going to happen to you just because you couldn't cope. So basically, with this example, you will understand how economy can affect. On the other side, you have issues about downsizing, losing job, as you can see, Mr. Nasrat Nuristani is trying to say, and other stuff happening as well. So anything related to economy that can affect your company directly or indirectly can be a good example. Mr. Nuristani, I really appreciate if you pay attention to the email that I today, I think as well, received, I think everybody received, that administrative part of the whole WWS, which is Worldwide Science, was asking all of the lecturers as well as the students to pay attention to this point, that about prayer times, because we have to conduct the time. I won't really mind giving you that chance. I'm perfectly fine with that. If you really need to go now to pray, you can go. But I'm sorry to say you have to keep going. We cannot interrupt the class. And the reason is this is what they instructed us. And I have to just obey the rules and regulation, which is instructed by the whole Worldwide Science. Thank you for understanding. If you really need to go, Mr. Nuristani, I don't mind. You can go, and then after finishing, you can join us. Thank you so much for understanding, Mr. Nuristani. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Muhammad Harun Sahab wants to talk. So yes, Mr. Harun, it's all yours. Sorry, I just saw that. Okay. Yes, Mr. Harun.
Thank you, sir. Yes, we really understand and respect the roles, but at this time we need to pray. This is not only one colleague or one classmate, one friend. Maybe majority or all of the class will need to pray. And while most of the students will be praying, I think would be no use for you continuing the class. To whom you will be continuing the class?
Okay.
For nobody.
Okay.
That is why we need to stop the class for 10 minutes, 10 minutes maximum, 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, whether people will rejoin or not, you can still continue the class. Thank you.
I really want to respect your thing, and I don't really think there is any point of arguing that, because I do believe I have to, I respect everybody's opinion and things, so I can give you this chance. I can explain for them that you really needed that time, so no problem. So if you really need to go, please go for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you have to finalize the class. See you all after 10 minutes, no problem. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that everybody is back now. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let's go for application for manager guidelines for problem solving. These are four main basically information that you have to pay attention. First of all, identifying important problems that can be solved. First of all, you need to know what are the most important problems to address first. So prioritizing the important problems are the most important thing that you have to do. So it comes from priority. Priority so you are basically using prioritization to be able to see which problem is the most important thing. You don't start with low-level one. You start with the top one, and you go to the lower one. The next issue is look for connections among problems. You have to create a relationship among dots or any possible evidence you have. Any problem that you have has to be connected somehow to anything else, to another problem as well. So you have to find those possible, basically, connections, as well as experiment with innovative solutions. Usually, experiment can play a significant role in problem solving. It comes from your previous deal with and different circumstances that you have, or different experiences and locations that you had before, dealing with the same problem and different types. So that definitely give you a specific knowledge, make you savvier, which means wiser, as well as so the wisdom which is coming from your experience will help you to deal with that much better. As innovative solutions usually are going to be those solutions that nowadays in this modern economy, modern world, they're going to be the most basically outcoming one, means the one that is going to really navigate us to the destination that we're looking for, as well as take decisive actions to deal with crisis. At the last part, the last guideline for problem solving is, after knowing what is the problem, after finding the connections among problems and possible solutions, after knowing what is the previous experience that can help us, and as well as innovative solutions, we have to take action. Take action is really important. So you have to make sure the decision that you are already made is coming from a very good practical point of view. Means it's not something that is not possible to be done in reality. Okay? So this is about the application for managers, guidelines and so on for problem solving. But I can see this is the 16th one. Why I explained this one was because this is the last part. But we have two other applications for managing time, as well as managing basically the managing time, as well as managing the continue of that. So we basically started managing time. This task was kind of left behind, so I'm going to explain this. What are these guidelines for managing time? So a manager has to understand the reason for demand and constraints. What are the basic reasons behind each demand that you have, and the constraints that I told you are coming from external environment. The other thing is expanding the range of choices. You have to add as much as possible alternatives to be able to deal with any problem coming up. So choices coming from your brainstorming or any type of creative solution making for any problem has to be there. So expenditure of that will definitely help you. Determining what you want to accomplish. At the end of the day, you need to know what is your goal, what you're trying to gain, what is your final destination that you're heading. All of this will definitely navigate you better. Analyzing how to use your time, finding the best way of using time in the best possible, efficient, and productive manner is another point, as well as plan directly, daily, and weekly activities. You see, sometimes you have to be very short-term, sometimes you have to be mid-range, sometimes you have to be strategic. The strategy is when you're talking about more than even more than 1 year, 2 years, even 5 years and above. Nowadays, it cannot be 5 years as far as the environment is so dynamic. But it can be very short-term, like daily, monthly, quarter months, or even half month, or even quarter year, and so on. This is all about how you're doing these different things in different circumstances. In continue with this thing, we have necessary activities that they have to be unnecessary activities that they have to be avoided. If there are certain activities that they are not really in procedure of value creation in your work, you just get rid of them. Do not assign your time on things that they are not necessary for your activities. On the other side, you have to conquer procrastination. Procrastination is one of the main problems of most of the managerial jobs. When you're postponing things to future, you do not postpone things to future. You don't know whether you have any time in future to deal with that. So you have to conquer this procrastination and stop postponing things to future. This is another guideline for managers in terms of managing time. Take advantage of reactive activities. I'll just explain for you what are the reactive activities. There are some possibilities in any reactive activities that happens in organization. You have to make sure that you get the best possible. Sometimes these reactive activities, they're going to be threats. They look like threat, or they look like problem, but you may be very, you can be innovative and you use that threat as an opportunity. There is a very, very famous slogan in China. They say there is an opportunity in each and every possible threat. Means you will be the winner if you can find that certain opportunity. Another good example can be this. You see, in this crisis that we've been talking today several times about that since 2008, which is a global recession, and there are still countries in the world dealing with that, as I explained last session, like Ireland, Spain, Greece, Italy, and lots of other countries. Cyprus recently, you know, that it was kind of bankrupt, and all the consequence of that recession happened in 2008. All of these things, there are companies and there are countries that they are affected by recession negatively. But there are companies that actually use this recession as an opportunity, and they took advantage of these reactive activities possible to be able to get benefit out of that. And this is what I'm talking about, okay? And the last choice is making time for reflective planning. Reflective planning, they are basically, Mr. Muhammad Harun Sahab is saying, don't reactive activities affect your regular planned activities. I don't really understand what you were trying to say. If you can maybe write it in more obvious, clear way, I may be able to answer it properly. I appreciate that. Mr. Muhammad Harun. Okay, try to write down what exactly you mean by that. Reactive activities affect your regular planned activities. As you're writing down that, I explained the last one, which is make time for reflective planning. Reflective planning comes from basically the possibilities that you have to do any planning that comes from environmental factor that you've seen the consequences, and you try to do something about that. So you have to make sure you have some time assigned to that thing, because you cannot simply stick to what you've done before and say that, okay, I want to just follow this basic regulations time and this concept of this basic detail of my time planning and so on, and I'm not going to apply anything extra or anything new anymore. You have to be able to see any possible factor that affecting you in organization and may cause you to have some changes in your time schedule. I mean, reactive activities are the ones in response to something mainly not included in your data. Yes, that is something that it was not foreseen before and it happened now. So you have to find out a way to deal with them. Yes, good. Mr. Harun, thank you so much. And they definitely affect. They definitely affect your plan, because they are new factors coming from dynamic environment outside that cause you sometimes to even change your schedule, change your planning, whether it's short-term, long-term, or even a strategy. Okay, and the last one is problem solving that I already explained. With finishing this, the whole chapters of today, they're going to be done. The only thing that we didn't hit is this part, manager activities. So you just can see here 4 different circles, and we have some overlap among them. You can see here in between, we have a place that all of these main decision making, all of these manager activities are going to have overlap. So we have 4 main ones: decision making, influencing, developing and maintaining relationship, as well as you can see here, exchanging information. That is kind of derived from the main Mintzberg theory that we were just discussing before this part. So with explanation of this, we came back from 16, 14, and 15, and 13 now, because I just pushed for slides to the last one, and this is how I explain it. I hope that you enjoyed the class today. If there is any question, please ask me now. If not, what I'm going to do is explaining what you have to do for your assignment. If there is any question, please raise your hand and I will attend you. Yes, Mohammed Harun. One comment. Yes, Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed Harun, if you have any question, please say it. Yes, I can give you this chance. Okay. Mr. Harun?
Thank you, sir. The lectures have been very useful and informative so far. While there is still comments and there is room to improve the two-way communication in the class, actually.
Okay.
You're too fast. Your number one comment is that you're too fast, sir, if you don't mind.
Okay, you mean that the way that I'm explaining is very fast?
Yes, yes, yes. On the other hand, we will need much more examples while you're explaining.
Okay. Mr. Harun, I really appreciate your explanation. Yes. You know what is going on? The problem is here.
Yes.
You see, the previous session, I was more detailed, and I was not insisting to cover all of the slides. And the reason was because that certain chapter and specific slides that you have, set of slides that you have, you didn't really need to know all of those things because some of them they weren't that much important. Today's chapter was really important. Every single slide was super important. And I was trying to make sure that you get to have explanation on all of them. So that is why today the paper was
sorry to stop you. We would have, inshallah, much time to cover the whole chapters. Suppose we cannot cover the whole chapters of 10 or 11 classes within 3 months. We could negotiate with the academy to extend time for 2-3 more extra weeks after the 3 months. And also, we would appreciate, though I myself am very busy with my office work during the day, where I work, the environment is so complicated, it takes my time even at night. But I would appreciate some sort of assignment for the students so we could extensify our participation during the lectures. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Harun. Thank you for your comments, and I appreciate that. I will do my best to apply as much as I can your comments, your positive, constructive comments. I do believe the class has to be mutual, has to be reciprocal, has to be two-way. This is my actually method of teaching. I had you in my classes, or you had me in a normal classes, you would see it by yourself. But then, definitely, online education and online thing has its own restrictions. So you believe you just imagine. This is a very good example to tell you what's going on. Today we were talking about some choices, some duties, and some restraints coming from environment. This is one of the restraints happening. Internet is good, it's mutual, but it's still, because there is no eye contact, there is no possibility of seeing each other's face. So there is no facial impression and nonverbal communication. I don't basically see what is really happening. In normal class, I will definitely be able to see what everybody is all about, the potential of the class, the ability of each student, the willingness of the participation, everything can be perfectly seen. As far as I've been teaching for almost quite a number of years, and I'm, thank God, I was delighted to have all the time good students to give me constructive comments, and I try to all the time, if they are constructive, to apply them. I do welcome all of those good comments, and I do my best to, yes, maybe give you more chances to talk as I did it in the first session. But as I told you, the reason why today you had it much faster was because I was trying to cover all this. But this was another way of doing that, and thank you for your comment. Is there anything else that anybody else is gonna basically share? If not, I'm gonna explain your main assignment. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention to this. As I told you, okay, Mr. Muhammad Harun is saying we used to have the 2 hours classes. We can still have them much more than that, up to 1.5. This is what I, again, the administrative office is asking me to provide, and basically we have two sides. This is again a balancing situation. As a lecturer, I can be one of those managers, middle range managers, and I bring your voice to the administrative staff, as well as bringing their voice to you as well. They have their own concern. They have their own way of dealing with the lectures, as well as you are expecting some certain thing as well. So I try to balance it out. So don't worry about that. Let's go to your assignment. You will have this group assignment. As I told you, you have to make sure 5 to 6 students in each class. As I look at your list, I can one more time look at my list and see exactly how many of you in this list. Let me just open the list, please. Just a moment. Okay. Leadership and okay. Unfortunately, I don't have the list here. Or I can double check it later on in my email. But anyway, I remember your class is less than 30 students. So what we do is basically dividing the class to 5 to maximum 6 different groups. You have this chance of choosing your group members. I'm not gonna force you to be in a certain group. This is all your responsibility. And then definitely, this is all, I will give you the authority, then it's your responsibility. What I do is I look at your final job and I try to be fair. I make sure that everybody has done its teamwork and basic share of the work. And I don't really want to see anybody saying at the end that, okay, I was the only one who was doing the job and the rest that were not really doing the job or anything like that. Okay? So make sure that you choose your group members wisely. Besides that, what you have to do is you have to choose a company, an existing company. You can write it down now, as I'm telling you, an existing company which is operating anywhere in the world. You can go and search any M&Es, any gigantic company, any big name, any branding one. Try to choose the interesting names. Do not go for cliche names. Cliche names are usually certain fast food industries brand or any type of clothes brands that they are very cliche. Most of the classes students try to go for them. Try to find a good company and try to apply as much as you can. As a matter of fact, I'm expecting you to have all of these 10 different stations that we discussed today. All of these different issues that we're discussing, from managerial level to different issues that we're discussing, apply to that company, and at the end, write a conclusive report on how you see leadership and management in that certain company. I want your work to be purely yours. It means I don't want you to copy paste from here and over there. There is no value in copy pasting from any online material. You definitely can use them, but it doesn't mean that you have to just use them by copy pasting them. You have to paraphrase them. Paraphrase means, Mr. Saibzadeh, don't worry, I will send you the assignment again to your email as well. A very brief statement about assignment, so don't worry about that. This is just explanation of assignment. Don't worry about assignment as document, so it will be sent to your email. Don't worry about that. I was telling you, so you have to apply all of these 10 different chapters on your work, as well as giving me a complete discussion as well as conclusion of how leadership and management, okay, can be applied to that specific organization. Okay, so your report, there is no limitation in terms of number of pages, but I don't want you to exceed certain number. I don't want any report to be more than 15 pages. But in terms of how much less, there is no. You may think that 5 pages is enough. You may think 15 pages is enough. So I don't want to force you exactly how much. Mr. Najibullah Shukur, I will give you the chance to talk. Just let me explain the whole thing. Then after that, you will be able to understand what exactly you have to do. So at the end, I want you to write a report about a certain company that these different managerial and leadership contents can be applied to. And your conclusion, and this discussion and conclusion at the end is going to be your significant contribution. So I want you to use academic references as well as other sources that you can find over the internet that are reliable. Definitely, if you cite your information, that is much better. I want you to, for any statement or whatever you have there, use proper citation and referencing. Means you have to cite it inside the text as well as at the end. So this is what your assignment is going to be all about. Your group members, maybe you can next week, the group members, you can create the groups now, and I do believe you already created them. Each group has to create one group leader, and from on I will be in basically in touch with that group leader. Group leader, you send me 2 main mails. The first mail is sending me the email to say this is, for example, group name members, and this is who is going to be in charge. This is the group leader, and this group leader at week 8 that I told you will send me the final assignment as well. I don't want all of the group members to send me emails here randomly and send the assignment. When you send me the assignment in your topic, you have to write down as well, this is related to leadership class, June 2013, okay? And then the group leader will send it, as well as when you attach it as a file to that certain email, as well as the name of group members in the email, okay? So nobody else except the group leader will send me the email about the assignment. The same group leader at the beginning of semester has to send me the group names as well. So then I know who is in group. Okay, this is about the assignment. So any question now? I can see somebody write citation. Mr. Shukur. Okay, let's go to the person who was going to talk. Who was Mr. Shukur? Najibullah, he wanted to talk. So what is your question, Mr. Najibullah?
Good evening to everybody, and thank you for letting me talk about today's class. Actually, it's a useful class in this semester, and my question is about the assignment. When is the due date, and when is do we have only one final assignment, final project, or are there any separate projects or assignments the group should do it during the semester? And about citation, I'm clear about the citation that whenever we cite something from the books, from the web, we need to write the authors and we need to put the bibliography at the end. And we need to use the in-text citation.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Okay, so basically, you know what citation is all about. About the due date, last week we talked about that. Again, I will repeat it. Okay, the due date will be week 8 because I want to make sure everybody's done by the end of the semester, so we don't give you due date after the thing. I explained the previous session that I believe that everybody will take the of the penalty, because each week that you're going to be delayed, you get 25% penalty. So 2 more weeks you have chance to go. More than that, you definitely get the huge. Yes, I'm sure nobody's going to be passing that, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Just make sure that everybody's going to stop the assignment on week, as I told you, week 8. This is the due date. About there is no other assignment except your main assignment that I'm telling you. You have a major assignment, which is this group assignment, and you have to do your best. I want everything to be written by you. I don't want any copy paste. Please, if you are using any specific original material, try to paraphrase them. Paraphrasing means try to change the combination of words from original text. Then your work is all yours. These are all for this. For first, the copyright issue. Second of all, plagiarism issue. If you don't do such a thing, it means your work is plagiarized and is academically wrong. Okay? So I want everybody to make sure that the work is originally written, and I definitely read your conclusion and discussions and everything basically, and I find out it's written by you or not. That is one thing that you have to change. About the citation you write, citation means whatever you are writing or claiming, any fact, any issue about the organizations that you're talking about has to have proper citation. Citation means you have to use books, academic publications, conference proceedings, any official website, not random website. No Wikipedia or anything like that, because those things are not reliable. Okay? Any official encyclopedia with citation can be used. Even information in Wikipedia that they have citation and you can use the citation, they can be used as well. But the information that they don't have citation, and Wikipedia is specifically mentioning that citation is needed, you have to avoid those type of information. So then let me see if there is any other questions. When is the due date? Week 8. Final project and final group assignment, the same thing. Final project is the final group assignment that you have. We need to avoid plagiarism for sure. Yes, you have to. Problems, send us the detail of assignment to our email. It will be most definitely I will do that, Mr. Nuristani. I try to give you another short brief of what you have to do. We need to have your group. Yes, each group you have to share your group now. You know your group members, you are in touch with them. You have to make sure that you have their email address and so on. You make sure that you are in touch. You have to create groups of 5 or 6 students in each. We have to have maximum 5 to 6 groups. I don't want group with 2 members, 3 members. At least you have to have 5 to 6 members. And then, okay, for example, now Mr. Nuristani is saying that these students are going to be with him. Yeah, perfectly. Please send me an email putting this group. That would be perfect. That would be best idea. You see, so I want just one email from each of these group leaders sent to my email, the email that you received the slides from. The same email you send me the email as well. And then I will have your group members. Another mail that you will send to me will be the email that you will send at the end for submission of your work. Any question, I prefer to answer your question online, so please try to find me here during the class. If you have any question, please ask. Don't hesitate to ask any question. That will be the best way of dealing with any question happening. If you don't have any question, you can call the day.
Excuse me, sir.
Any question?
Yes,
yes,
do you hear me?
Mr. Who is this?
Sir, This is Mr. Karim Rustani, sir.
Yes.
Sir, we have got
Yes.
your point, sir. We have already formed our groups from first semester. Sir, we will send you our group members to your email. Sir, could you confirm that if you could send us the detail of assignment or final project in our
Definitely.
email, that would be good, because you have introduced the project, and if you send it to our email, we would very appreciate that, sir.
Definitely, I will do it. Don't worry, Mr. Anderson. As I just told you, I will send it to all.
Sir, this is the final project, right?
Yes, this is your main project. Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. No more projects anymore, right?
No, you see, you may have some small, for example, assignment for daily. For example, we reach a certain point in our job, and I will tell you, okay, for next session, try to go and research about that. That is another a small part of your job, which is more participation based. But your main job is that one. Yes.
We can do that, sir. For the time being, just send us the structure or the final assignment. We would appreciate that, sir. Thank you, sir.
Don't worry about that. Yes, of course I will send it.
We will wait, sir.
Of course. Okay. No problem. Definitely I will do it, Mr. Nuristani. Don't worry about that. This is for everybody. This is just for clients. Definitely I will send it to you. Then you are sure what you're doing. Explanation was just for explaining detail what you're going to do, but then definitely explanation about that will be there. So if you don't have any question, we can finish the class now. If there is any question, please ask. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your participation. All of the students that they share their opinions, I really appreciate that. The rest, I highly appreciate if you provide your microphone, proper microphone, then you can basically participate in discussion. That makes the class much better. Have a good evening, and goodbye till next week. You will receive the definition of the structure most probably by tomorrow. Thank you so much, and bye.